Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here with this week's episode of the Market Monday. So I don't have time today to do a full edited video like I did last week that didn't come out until, Thursday? I wanted to get this one actually on time. Did have some other topics I wanted to talk about in case there was an unbanning or a banning in the Modern format, but it was just released today. There is no change for Modern. I'm going to talk about that for a little bit. I'm a little bit just... what's the word I'm looking for? It's not scared or frightened, but uneasy about the future of Modern, with Wizards now basically showing us that they aren't willing to support the Modern format with either bannings or a Pro Tour showing. So I think that maybe next week I'll have some more data available and show you that just the overall price of Modern have been dropping now for quite a while, even in especially like the tier 2 decks. Some very, very staple cards in Modern have been dropping over time, and that is just a bad sign for Modern. We have reprints galore coming up. We have Modern Masters 3. That might just be the straw that breaks the camel's back and just adds, which might be a good thing for players, though. So it's almost like a catch-22, damned if you do, damned if you don't type situation. If they continue to reprint and add more into the player base, then that will make Modern cheaper, which actually might allow more people to get into Modern. But what I really am worried about with Modern is just the consistency with the bannings. I didn't like the Splinter Twin ban. I think Deceiver Exarch should have got hit instead of Splinter Twin. So I don't like banning a deck based upon dominance. I like banning a deck based upon just basically kind of the turn 3, like some of these regulations that they want for the format. So they have an ideal for what the format should be, and then ban if any cards kind of go away from the goals of the format. And one of the things they wanted was interactiveness, if that's a word, like how interactive is the deck. And also they don't want any deck to violate the turn 3 rule. So Eggs really got banned because it was uninteractive. It could violate the turn 3 rule, but it was mainly just because you just sat there and watched your opponent play while you didn't play, and it didn't really do anything. Like, it didn't really care what the opponent was playing. They really only cared what they were playing. It's just kind of like what we call one-sided magic. And so there have been some bannings in the past that were just due to that. And I think that Wizards needs to reevaluate decks that are uninteractive and maybe get rid of some pieces of those type of decks. We also saw like Amulet deck that did violate the turn 3 rule, but again, it was mainly because of the same reason. It was just very uninteractive. So I think that on Twitter, I'm kind of at a Twitter war right now with a few people. My suggestions were to ban Become Immense, ban Simian Spirit Guide, and really reevaluate the new Phyrexian mana, and especially in Gitaxian Probe and in Mutagenic Growth, and see if that's good for Modern or not. I'm kind of iffy on both of those. I think Gitaxian Probe would be a card that I'd be okay with banning just because it's just so easy to throw it in any deck and play a 56 card deck rather than a 60 card deck. So anyway, I think that will make for a video for another day. Personally, I think that this should have been a great opportunity to try out the unbanning of Splinter Twin and banning Deceiver Exarch. We got a new hate card for Splinter Twin in this last set for white. There's still like Illness in the Rank and then so many other cards, Golgari Charm, which are really good cards to actually deal with Splinter Twin. I don't think it'd be as dominant as it once was. Especially if you just get rid of Deceiver Exarch. I think having Lightning Bolt not be able to kill the key card in that kind of archetype was what's making it really, really good against the Lightning Bolt decks. So anyway, I also think that taking off a card, the last few cards that they've taken off the ban list have actually not affected at all, like Bitter Blossom and Ancestral Visions and the Sword of the Meek. So I think that even going for like Stoneforge Mystic would have been something that could have happened. So anyway, that's all I'm going to talk about with that. That's what the video was going to be about, if there was going to be some bannings and unbannings. But I think that Modern is extremely stale right now. I've talked to many game stores which have said that their Modern turnout is much lower. Talked to Tulane Community College, for example, and he said they used to get like 32 people easy for a Modern tournament, his local game store, and now they're lucky to get 8. The same at my local game store. And I do blame Simian Spirit Guide for one of those. Maybe I'm just being a poor sport here, a big baby, but I refuse to play at my own local game store that I own because 2 gentlemen are playing ad nauseum. And so we have 2 people out of our like little 10 10-player group that are playing ad nauseum, and then Zach refuses to play anything but Infect, and it just makes for what I think a really stale format with these. And the reason why Zach is playing Infect religiously is the other people are playing ad nauseum religiously. So it's just this mess of a metagame where if I want to just flip coins, I'll go flip coins somewhere rather than actually play this supposed game that they call Magic. So anyway, I'd love to get back to the modern heydays of very interactive decks and turn 4, turn 5 type. Still, I like to say that my favorite time in Modern would have been during the Jund dominance, back when Jund and an American controller, UWR controller, were big, and I actually got my Pro Tour invite with Soul Sisters just because it was a good metagame call, and those games lasted quite a while. Jund versus Soul Sister, for example, would last a good 10 turns. So anyway, that's how I'm going to talk about this, but it does kind of lead me into my next topic that I'm going to be talking about, which I've kind of, the horse keeps telling me to quit, the dead horse keeps telling me to quit beating it, but I'm still going to beat this dead horse as long as there, I think, is a lot of misinformation. I don't know if it's quite misinformation, but I think just faulty speculation. So I was watching one of Rudy's videos. He did a Q&A, and a gentleman asked him if he thinks that maybe the Constant here or the Fetchland or just anything can be created, a bubble can be created within a group, even in a small group like his own group, like his own alpha investment. You know, the video that he suggested that people, it's all about the fetch, has over 30,000 views. And so that's 30,000 people viewing that, and then you think that that's not going to have an impact on a market, a secondary market? I will highly disagree. I think it'll have a very huge effect, and I think that it's turned into a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy or a self-fulfilling bubble. Now, bubble is not the right word, but I want to kind of just start off saying that Rudy's videos are great. He has really, really good investments. I think that it's not as relevant now after he turned Ravnica forward as buying into sealed product used to be, because it used to be that buying into sealed product was a sure, safe bet. It will go up in the long term. Now, I still think that that is the case, but I think it's going to take a longer long term than before. We saw these sets like from even Innistrad or New Phyrexia or Scars of Mirrodin or Zendikar, all of those spiked very quickly after they rotated out of standard, just because, as Rudy mentions in his video, people are impulsive. There's only a finite amount of sealed product, and every day somewhere in the universe someone opens one up to draft, and that's one less box in the market. Whereas cards, you know, they continue to stay unless they get damaged by coffee or whatever, just wear and tear. They can just stay for a longer period of time than sealed product. I agree with him there. I think it's a smart place to put your money. You won't lose money on that investment, and it will give you pretty good gains and returns year after year. The one thing that I find kind of troubling is people just, they got in on this Constant Kier spec, got in at like the $100, $110, $115 mark. That's not where a lot of like Rudy or some of these other people got in at the $72, $75, $80 mark. And so they've already seen this huge increase of the value of their stock going up from 75 all the way up to 130 just by adding all these new speculators into the mix. And I really do think it has become a self-fulfilling prophecy and a self-fulfilling bubble, or a bubble created within a small market or a small demographic. And I think that the data that I'm going to go over is going to show that. So right after Rudy did It's All About the Fetch, the Fetchlands had about a 10%, not a 10%, I would say more like a 2% spike. So I actually got some emails saying, uh-oh, Kevin, you look to be wrong here with your Cons of Tarkir, your Fetchlands analysis, because I was saying they are losing about 25% per week. And then that, right after Rudy's video, there was a little bit of bump. So it showed a bunch of people went in and invested in Cons of Tarkir. Well, since then, now the Constant Kier booster boxes have skyrocketed in price, but Fetchlands have continued to go down. Now there is no Fetchland worth over $16.50, and the other ones are under $15, and that's like going through TCG Mid, which is just showing that more and more people are adding them to TCG Player, which is, they're undercutting just slightly, you know, 5-10 cents each time, and there is no buyers compared to how many people are posting them. And it is, I think that the kind of exodus from the Modern format is also going to show this. I don't think that Modern is crashing. I just think that it's not having the liveliness that it once had, like tons of people entering in, which is kind of scary, because usually rotation time is when Modern really hits big because people are like, oh man, all my expensive cards are no longer going to be good in standard. Well, I'm sick of this. I'm not going to continue to buy standard decks. I'm just going to move over to modern and kind of sink some value into modern. Well, I don't think we've had the growth that we once saw to see that kind of buying spree into the shifting over from standard into modern. I think people are really excited about Kaladesh standard. So unless we have another stale format like Theros block, I don't think we're going to see that huge influx of modern. So that's also going to affect the prices. So let's just talk about it. So one of the things I like to compare is Return to Ravnica versus Khans of Tarkir, because the value of Return to Ravnica is actually higher. Return to Ravnica, you're expected to get a $68 price, and it's finally, and see how this has gone down. It was 70, 70, 69, 69, 68, 68, and now it's around, it's starting to flatten out and starting to go up. So Return to Ravnica is rebounding. And why I think that over the long period of time, Return to Ravnica will actually see an influx of price way before Khans of Tarkir, just because I believe that there's way less Return to Ravnica booster boxes out there to begin with, and right now you can still get Return to Ravnica boxes for very cheap. Now, contrast that with Khans of Tarkir. Now, by the way, this is called MTG Dawnglare, is the site that I'm using. Khans of Tarkir has continued to go down in value. In fact, it never has ever reached the $68 mark that Return to Ravnica has. There's just a lot of other rares in Return to Ravnica that are solid rares that have long-term and casual long-term type of cards that I don't think that Khans of Tarkir has. Khans of Tarkir was a very wedged base set, meaning that a lot of things fell into the 3 colors, which have a lot less playability in casual type decks if they require the 3 color type cards. There was a lot of powerful cards, but not quite powerful enough for modern, and the ones that were really powerful in modern got banned, like Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time. So anyway, just keep that in mind with Khans of Tarkir. It is all about the fetch with Khans of Tarkir, and if the fetch lands are not something that have a long-term ability to rise, and I keep saying the looming threat of Zendikar reprints for their fetch lands will affect the prices of even Khan's fetch lands. So I just do not like the spec. So $53 compared to Return to Ravnica is $68. Now this is why I think it's a bad investment right now for Khans of Tarkir boxes. If people still think that they want to get a card, you've missed the mark. It's around $135 on eBay, which 130 I would say. You can find some every now and again for Khans of Tarkir boxes, but most of them are for like a foreign, like Chinese or Spanish or Portuguese. Every now and then you'll find this. Here's a sealed box for 110 that this person is selling. This is actually rarer now. The average price I would say would be between 125 and 135. And Return to Ravnica you can still find for 85 all over the internet. You can find it on Cool Stuff. Always has some. They'll have it for really cheap every now and again on their sales, like 85. I think they've gone down to 80 before. And so there still seems to be a lot of Return to Ravnica sealed boxes out there, and the expected value of it is much higher, and it is on the rebound. And so you'll get your money out of Return to Ravnica a lot quicker. Now, maybe 10 years down the road, Khans of Tarkir will have more value in it. I just don't think so. I think that it's something just based upon the year that it was released is going to have a lot more. I mean, Theros too. Theros, I think, let's go back to Dawnglare here and see what Theros has to offer. Yeah, Theros is still really low, but Journey to Nyx has a lot of cards that I think that have a potential of going up a lot higher than Khans of Tarkir. Thoughtseize is also included in Theros, and the gods are all having nice rebounds for mythic values, but rares, of course, have a lot more value than they add to a set than the mythics do. So that's just some justification. Now let's just look at the Khans of Tarkir. This is from MTG Stocks, has some really cool your expected value from booster boxes. So this is kind of showing the same thing that Dawnglare is showing. Dawnglare goes by TCG prices. MTG Stocks, I believe, goes by a lot of different vendors. Maybe it does go by TCG, but the expected value on the low end of a Khans of Tarkir booster pack is $1.33. $47 for a box, $90 at the mid price, and $2.52 for a booster pack at the medium price. So somewhere the real value of this is somewhere in between these two. So Return to Ravnica you can see is also higher. They're higher than the Khans of Tarkir. So I think that is one. I know I've beat this dead horse and beat this dead horse and beat this dead horse, but this is kind of my response to the question that was for the Q&A for Rudy for Alpha Investments, I absolutely do think that self-fulfilling prophecies are true, and I think we've just proved it. And you can see that right after I made a response video to Rudy's It's All About the Fetch video is right where in my video, the date that I did it, you could still buy a box of Khans of Darkir from plenty of vendors, from Channel Fireball to Troll and Toad to even a bunch of these other mid-level vendors for $90. And now it seems to be completely bought out throughout the internet, and there is no justification for that. There is no huge demand for those particular cards. When Fetchland prices, let's just click on a Fetchland price here, and it should show that trend. If anyone else has some other sites they'd like to see, I love for your input, because I did like the site that I used to use for the Market Mondays. However, I've kind of had a falling out with that website. Maybe we'll talk about that for a second here. And I don't want to start any wars, though, because I really respect Seth. I think he's a great person. I really wish that the collaboration could have gone forward. Now I've delved into it. I think I have to go down this road. So many may know that I do a top 10 list for top 10 rogue cards I want to brew around for each set. It's actually my #1 viewed videos for each set. I usually get around 10,000 to 15,000 views per video that I do for these top 10 lists. It's kind of my go-to. These are the cards I'm most excited about. I do a little higher end video editing and try to put some time into videos. That video is actually coming soon. So what ended up happening was Seth actually reached out to me. He wanted to be a part of it. He wanted to do a top 10 collaboration with me, because I believe that me and Seth and maybe Travis Wu are probably the top 3 rogue brewers. Conley Woods, I would say, would be in that mix too, except Conley's kind of fallen off the face of the earth lately. I mean, he still does some things every now and again, but he's not nearly as vocal as he used to be with the kind of the rogue brewing. So I've really respected Seth for a long time. And he even said that, he's respected me and he's loved my format, and he's loved me as a rogue deck. We do very similar things. We've had fans message us. I've had plenty of emails. Hey, you need to collaborate with Seth. You need to collaborate with Seth. And I'm sure he's received those emails again. So we meet up and we wait till the full set is spoiled, and we put together a top 10 list, and for about 2 hours we talk over Skype and kind of get this collaboration going. And then what ends up happening is, I guess he's got a full production team over at Goldfish, and he submits some, hey, can you make us some graphics and some slides to this top 10 list, because we're going to do this collaboration. And they basically tell him under no circumstances can he collaborate with me. Now, keep in mind, this isn't a sponsored video. This was just a collaboration between 2 personalities. And I find that highly offensive by telling one of your content producers that you can't associate with another content producer that's very relevant to the content. So the only people that really miss out, of course I'm irked by this. It would have been a good potential to get some new viewers onto to of course my site. It would have been some good potential to get some new viewers onto their site. And I'd used MTG Goldfish in almost every Market Monday video that I've done for the past year, and just raved about how good I love the service, and how kind of streamlined the service is to see set prices, trends, what decks the cards are used in. And it's great to justify my Market Monday speculation. Now, I absolutely know where this is coming from, that I am a quote-unquote controversial figure, and I think most of my controversy comes from daring to stand up for MTG headquarters. And again, I give my reasonings to why I even stood up for the guy, when I think that most people in the history of the Magic the Gathering world have probably, I don't think that many people have had more problems with HQ than I have, but I was able to bury that hatchet with him, and I've enjoyed moving past that chapter and actually trying I accepted his olive branch and trying to bury old wounds and actually collaborate with people. And now I've been put on the naughty list because I dare associate with a person like him, which I find it just completely baffles me. I could understand, again, a sponsored video, but for the fact that it's just a collaboration between like-minded people, I really feel sorry for Seth, because can you imagine being presented with that, saying, oh, cool, you wanted to do this collaboration, you reached out to this person, he accepted, you guys started talking, no, you can't do it. So he had to reach out to me and apologize, and it's just a mess. So just out of I don't know, stubbornness, whatever you want to call it. Just I don't agree with it, and I'm pissed off by it, and so I'm just not going to use their site ever again or promote their site in a Market Monday video. And I hope that I can in some way somehow collaborate with Seth in the future, but his livelihood completely depends on his sponsorship, and I understand completely. That's another reason I kind of want to move away from sponsorships and move into maybe sort of a Patreon type content, so that I can never be bullied or manipulated by potential sponsorships. Or I think I'm pretty safe with Gathering Magic. I think that they're a great company. I mean, for example, they just brought on Ali Antrazi after that whole debacle of that whole mess with what happened to him with TCG Player. So I think, but I know that future sponsorships are 100% in jeopardy, just because I am not afraid to speak my mind, and I always will speak my mind, no matter how many cages are rattled or how many people that don't agree with my opinion. So anyway, that's the justification. I think it needs to be addressed in a Market Monday why you're not seeing MTG Goldfish on these future videos. Again, I'm open to just completely burying the hatchet there. I can't say enough good things about their site, but I am also looking for alternatives in some talks with Quiet Speculation. I like the MTG stocks kind of format here. MTG price is not working today. Usually I would showcase MTG price, but unfortunately it's not working. It's just coming up with blank screens today. So anyway, where was I with this? So we will just look at some cons of Tarkir lands here. Here is a flooded strand, and you can see the trend is $15, and the trend is still going down. So again, there was this little bump right here, which is where Rudy did his video, and then it is continuing to going down. So it's losing about 25 cents per week, and none of them are safe. Flooded strand, I think Wooded Foothill is the only one that shows kind of a flat line because it's the most played one. I still think it is the most played one in Modern, as it sees playing like Jund, Burn, Death Shadow, it sees like Scape Shift. Like the red-green is a very, very popular combination in Modern. So Wooded Foothills might be the only one that can kind of flatline, but even flooded strands are still continuing to go down. I got out of them about here-ish, and you know, I'll probably get back into them as soon as you see this flatline out. I would say $8 to $12. I think $12 is fine for Flooded Strand, Polluted Delta, and Wooded Foothills, and then the $8 will be more like Windswept and Bloodstain, because they see less play. Plus, the Windswept was used in a pre-constructed deck, so in an event deck. So I think that, and the whole problem with that between the $8 and $12 rare, for even things that are heavily played in Modern, is that there always will be that looming threat of the Zendikar Fetchlands. You'll need about 8 to 10 lands in Modern, and I think a lot of people are using Constant here, myself included, just the allied ones over the Zendikar ones, just on a price. Like for example, my burn deck uses Bloodstain and Wooded Foothills. I don't use the white-red one because it's just more expensive and it's kind of unnecessary. I can go get the specific land I want to get. Usually it's just going to be a mountain, but I can go get a Sacred Foundry or a Stomping Grounds with any of those lands. And so having the red-white one is just unnecessary. So the same thing can be said with like Jund. 8 of them is fine. You can use Bloodstained Mires or Wooded Foothills over the Verdant Catacombs. Now Verdant Catacombs is nice because you can go get a swamp, but usually what's or a forest, which is nice against Blood Moon, I'd actually say is really, really good advantage, but it's unnecessary. It's something I don't think it's going to come into effect that often. And if you want to really fine-tune your Jund list, of course, it's going to have the Verdant Catacombs, but it's something you don't absolutely need to build the deck. And so there's so many decks that are in that category where you can use any fetch land. And once the Zendikar Fetchlands are inevitably reprinted, then we're going to have people that will have a ton of Verdant Catacombs for cheap, and it's going to kind of take down the value of all these other cards that people are using just because it's the cheaper option. So anyway, I'm rambling pretty badly in this deck. Again, I apologize for not having a full-fledged Market Monday. I'm going to try to have a one edited, completely edited, pristine Market Monday video per month. So I can just focus on some other videos. Need to focus on that top 10 list. There's some goodies coming out with that. Kaladesh, not much to talk about right now because there isn't any deck lists. I think that Nissa is the Planeswalker that I like the most. I'm still not impressed with Chandra, and everything is just going to inevitably crash from Kaladesh because of the chasing of the masterpieces. People are going to open it up. I think that I don't think that we're going to be able to have a rare that's over $5 and a mythic that's over $20, just because Battle for Zendikar followed that pattern. And I don't think there's going to be anything different with this. I don't think there's nothing special about this set or special about any cards in the set that are going to keep the prices from falling to that. Gideon was an incredibly played card in its standard life and is still in its standard life and couldn't breach that $25 barrier. So I don't think Chandra is going to see any more play than Gideon. Gideon is also seeing a significant amount of play in Modern. And Chandra is completely unproven. So if I were you, I'd unload the Chandras. It doesn't have the ability to be a Liliana because Eldritch Moon had a short life, being wedged in between Conspiracy and Eternal Masters. I mean, that was just unfortunate timing for Eldritch Moon. I mean, there was so much other product on the market at the time for people to spend on the Magic Gathering product, whereas there's nothing really coming out for a bit for Kaladesh. It's going to have quite a bit of sales, going to be drafted as a 3-of, and then is going to be also drafted as a 1-of with Aether Revolt, and also be a 2-of, I believe, in the next pre-release. So yeah, there's going to be just more and more product open. If you can compare Kaladesh to anything, you'll compare it to Shadows over Innistrad and Battle for Zendikar. More likely Battle for Zendikar because they both have the shiny expeditions / masterpieces in it, which lead to a lot of people opening up case after case after case of these things. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this Market Money. Any comment in the comment section below. I like to pick on Rudy, or not pick on him, but at least go back and forth with Rudy because he's a very intelligent person, which I think has his own perspective, and I have my own perspective. And it works out. None of us get butt hurt by disagreeing with the other one. So feel free to disagree with me if you're on Team Rudy. That's fine. If you think that Constantar Kira is a great investment, I can see the point. I think it's just too risky for my blood. And to me, I think that's exactly what has happened, has become a self-fulfilling prophecy. When 30,000 people, or actually I would say 10% of his video probably went and invested, so 3,000 people go in the market and start investing in Constantar Kira boxes, it's gonna cause a little bit of a irregular inflation that otherwise would not have happened. And I think that Rudy really underestimates the pull that he has on the market. I've talked to some people in the past about how unethical it'd be if, say, I pick a card and me and Morton and a few other Travis Wu and a few other top-end people buy out a certain card and just showcase it and showcase it and showcase it, just play it like crazy on our channels. I guarantee you we could affect the price of a specific card. So anyway, keep that in mind with these buyouts and these speculations. We've seen it happen in the past with these huge conglomerates do it, but I think that just even a small-time YouTuber, which is growing at a very, very fast rate, can have a huge effect on the market. Hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I'm not going to do any snazzy editing to it. This has been Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.